might be helpful if I turn on my mic, huh? Oh my goodness. Okay. How are you ladies? You can turn on your mics for a couple minutes. We can chat and before we get started.
Can you
So
hear me?
yeah, I can hear. Who is that? Candy?
Uh-huh.
Candace, hi. Oh,
Hi.
Candy, sorry.
Candy?
Two of us.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting when I call on you to talk, huh? But it'll be Candy and Candace. So, oops, I just dropped my pen. How is everybody tonight? Tonight?
Good.
Good. Those of us in the Northwest are having warm weather, but then Kathy's down in Florida, and I'm sure that's plenty hot.
It's pretty hot in Texas too.
Oh, Texas, yes. Yeah, I bet. I know here in the Northwest, we wait all year, well, for 9 months to get the sun. And as soon as it comes out, we're like, no, that's too much. Never mind. I like the clouds. I
It's
think
been livable though.
what?
It's been livable.
It has. Well,
Okay.
the difference is we're still in a temporary condo and does not have air conditioning.
Well, I don't either.
Oh, you don't?
No, and I face the west sun all day long.
Oh my gosh.
Surprised you didn't put it
Muckleteo's
in.
a little cooler, but not by much, you know.
Yeah, no.
It's okay.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't put it in.
Actually, that was part of the plan, and then we decided to put another master bedroom, a second master bedroom in for my parents. So it kind of
Right.
changed things up a little bit.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So how's it where you're at? How's it going?
For me,
Mhm.
it's fine. I mean, we are on West Lake Sammamish, so we've got a beautiful setting, you know, a little 2-story condo. You know, but it's very livable, very nice. And we can walk down to the water and watch people rowing and kayaking and boating and all that. So I haven't done much with it myself because I've been running back and forth to the new house, getting ready for that. So I think we're moving in about 2 weeks.
Ooh, great.
Fine.
Where's your new home?
In Trilogy. I thought you knew that,
Oh,
Kat.
that's right. You told me that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Trilogy. So
Yeah.
yeah, we gutted the whole thing out and, you know, started with everything: cabinets, counters, light fixtures, flooring, toilets, bathtub, shower, everything. You'll have to come over when you come to town.
Everything that you want.
Yes, I'm designing it to be my environment. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
neat.
So we have Texas, Florida, Mukilteo. Michelle, remind me where you are?
I'm in California.
California. And Christine, where are you? Christine. Okay, Lena, where are you?
Leanna, I'm in Bellevue.
Leanna. Okay, good. So you know, it's nice and warm here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too warm.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's what we were talking about just before you got on. How are we doing? Okay, so we can start. First of all, thank you so much for being here today. I always love presenting past life regression, a topic very close to my heart. And I hope you have lots of questions because I'm going to keep the lecture part pretty short because I really want to answer your questions and find out what, you know, what you're curious about. But we are going to go through a past life experience also, the fun stuff. So I have a PowerPoint, a little slideshow that will help to demonstrate some of the concepts. So I'm going to try to do this. It's always awkward when you're like sharing and getting screens up and stuff, but let's see what we can do. Okay, maybe not so painless. Can
Yeah.
everybody see that? I'm gonna go to, let's see, I'm gonna put play. There, does that look like it's in a full screen to you?
Yep.
Whoop.
Look,
Yeah, looks perfect.
Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
it's great.
The problem for me is I can't click these buttons. I can't even, oh, there it is. Now, is it in full screen still for you?
no.
No, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, here we go. Okay, and then do you see this black bar across the, whoops, I keep doing that. Across the middle, or is that just for me?
I don't see a black bar.
I don't either.
Okay. Okay, all right. Oh, and here, as people come in, isn't that weird? For some reason, I can't see my pointer when it's in the full screen.
We can see it plenty well. I
Yeah,
mean,
we can see it.
that
fine.
way.
This,
Fine.
okay,
Yeah,
Yeah,
all right. Well, let's just do it this way. I'm sorry, because it does look nicer when the full screen is there. Just cut, maybe I can make this larger. Let me do that.
that worked.
Okay, so that's me, Mary Leela Bay. And we'll just get started, hopefully. There we go. So exploring past lives. I've been doing my own the first time I had a past life experience was in about 1986. And, it rocked my world. That for me, that had been a lifelong quest to be able to know what my past lives were. In fact, in about 1975, I went to a psychic fair, and the only question I had was to get a past life reading. And it was educational for a number of reasons. And one of it was, I didn't know anything about it. I just know that I wanted to know who I was in another lifetime. And so in that experience, as a psychic reading, the person told me about my past life. And so, you take it in and you think, okay, they're a psychic, maybe they know. And he told me about 3 of my lifetimes. And one of them was, I was a school teacher in the West in one of those, 1-room wooden schoolhouses where all the grades were, one teacher in town, and that was me. And he told me about this lifetime. And he said one day, 4 Native Americans came riding over the bluff towards the schoolhouse. And I had to protect the children. So I grabbed a shotgun and I killed all 4 of them. I shot them. And he said, in that lifetime, you learned that's when you learned courage. You were brave, and you you saved the children, and that in that lifetime you learned courage. So for the next decade, until I did my own past lives, that was the story that I held in my head. And so when I started having someone do past lives on me, going into the trance, going into it so that I'm remembering, I went back to that lifetime to check to see if that man knew what he was talking about. And that was a real lifetime. I was a teacher in the West in a little schoolhouse, and the 4 Native Americans came riding over and I killed them. That part was true. But the problem with having somebody else do your past life regressions for you, give you the psychic reading, is that his interpretation, his details were not accurate. So it was true, but not accurate, right? So, so what had really happened was those 4 Native Americans came riding over the bluff. I grabbed the shotgun in sheer terror, right? I was no courage. I killed them out of, my fear. And as it turns out, one of them was my soulmate. So I killed my soulmate without a word exchanged. And so, it could very well have been that, they weren't attacking us, more than likely they were coming to find out what we were doing there and check us out. It could have been that we could have created some good, peaceful relations with this tribe. Instead, I killed 4 of their warriors. And guess what happened to the village after that, right? They aren't going to sit by and just let that happen without retaliation. So, what it demonstrates is that when we go to do our past lives, nobody can tell us what they are except us. I mean, other people may say, hey, I remember you from a past life. Do you remember when we were sisters? Do you remember when I was your mom? Do you remember when we were married or whatever? And that can spark those memories for you, but it's up to you to go in there and really learn, really experience what happened and do the deeper research for yourself to where you really understand the lessons that were involved, the experiences that were there. I mean, it's very similar to having, even your best friend. If your best friend is explaining, describing you to somebody else, if you hear it, you're like, well, yeah, kind of, but that's not all of me, or that's not how I would say it, or that's not what I thought happened, and so it's the same thing when we have that internal experience. There's, quite a different perspective there. So, so for those of you, I know a few of you are taking my training coming up, or have taken it. And so we'll be studying past lives. And so that's one of the things that I tell people is we have to do this work ourselves. The other reason that we want to do the work ourselves is that it exercises that muscle. So when we go in and we're actually accessing that part of our consciousness, we're expanding it, we're cracking that open, we're strengthening that memory muscle. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what all we can accomplish in past lives. But if you have somebody else do the reading for you, then it's really like saying, I want to really get in shape, but would you go to the gym for me? You go to the gym and you tell me what was that like, and how did you feel? And, and that's how I'm going to get in shape. And it's just not the way it's going to happen, unfortunately, right? It would surely be nice to send somebody else. Let me just turn off this noise. Okay. So, so we're going to dig into past lives, maybe. Oh, I guess we have to do it this way. So in the beginning, when I first started doing regressions, and the way that most people train to do regressions is really learning how to put a person into an altered state of mind, and then they go on a sightseeing tour, right? Oh, I was this, I did that. These things happened. It was this period of time. It was in this location. And they're just really doing a lot of sightseeing. And when I first learned how to do regressions, and the regressions that were done on me were really sightseeing tours. And so it wasn't until I took my hypnotherapy training that I realized that there was so much more power in this. And well, we'll get into that a little differently, but anyway, so most people or most therapists are being trained to do the sightseeing. You get them into that trance state and, what happened next? And did you do this? And who were you? And did you get married? That sort of thing. Okay. So, well, and even mentioning that, not everybody goes into trance or goes into the past life by going into hypnotherapy like I do, or like I train my students to do, where we're actually using that body of hypnotherapy to put them into that deeper state of connection. I was presenting past life regression, a particular aspect of past lives at a past life conference in New Delhi, India, years and years ago. And in the demo, I gave the lecture, and then I was going to do have them practice what I had just taught them. And I said, okay, put it, everybody put your client into trance and take them into a past life. And all the hands went up, and they said, we don't know how to put a person into trance. It was like, okay. So some people are being trained to do past lives, but without having any education in hypnotherapy. So I found that to be eye-opening. And how they're doing it is by what we call an affect bridge or a somatic bridge. In other words, the only way you would get there is if you have a feeling now, either a sensation or an emotion, and then you follow that back into the past life when you had that feeling before, which means that there's a whole spectrum of past lives that you're probably not going to access because they aren't sensations and feelings that you're having in the present moment. And so, it would be very, very limited to do it that way, I think. And then there are other people who are trained or are training people. I talked to somebody just recently where they go back, through, go back to the birth, go back to childhood, back through their birth, back through the womb and into a past life. And again, that's, to me, it's a big waste of time. That's like me saying, hey, Candy, do you remember going to the prom, or do you remember when you got married, right? And then you're saying, well, yeah, but let's see, last year I was doing this, and the year before I did that, and that trying to access your memories by going back incrementally, chronically into a memory, because all those memories are right there in your memory bank, right? And that's what we want to access so that we can know ourselves, so that we can find out who we were, what happened to us, what is our wisdom, what are our phobias and fears, everything. So it's very typical in hypnotherapy to talk about the iceberg, because the conscious mind really houses this part of it right here. What is above the surface is readily accessible information that we have in our conscious mind. Just wanted to see. Okay, somebody else is coming in. So if we think of our conscious mind here above the surface, everything else is down in here underneath. And as we know with icebergs, the majority of the bulk of it, the mass of an iceberg, is below the surface. And by far, that's true for our conscious mind. If you can imagine that we've lived an infinite number of lifetimes, not 10 or 20, and some people say, oh, you have 144 lifetimes or whatever, they're just making stuff up. we've been around for, perhaps, most likely since the beginning of time and space, right? So billions of years. And during that time, we've come into bodies and had experiences and all of that. So billions of years of experience are down here waiting for us to access. And so the reason that we would access that, and some of this is, where we find our old chemistry formulas and things that we've forgotten by now, right, from school. But when we access here, we can access our past lives. We can find out what lessons that we had, and maybe, well, and hopefully even lessons that we came into this lifetime to experience. We can go in and find talents that we had. Maybe they are being expressed in this lifetime, but maybe they're not being expressed in this lifetime. For instance, I had a friend who wanted to go into a past life. He was he is a musician, but he said, I just really think I had a strong past life as a musician. So I took him into that lifetime, and in that lifetime, he was a jazz musician down, I think in like New Orleans or something, and just had that whole jazz, energy to him. And so what we did was we really combined that, really bound that to him in his conscious mind, so that when he came back into this lifetime, he could bring that talent with him. And it's really not the talent, because he had the talent, but he could bring that mindset. It's a different way of thinking or perceiving. I don't know, does anybody here speak a second language, for instance? So when you speak a second language, it's like that, like you kind of switch over here to a different perspective. And I don't know, it's one way of thinking about it. But or when you go from your everyday thought to really tuning into intuition, for instance, you're kind of bringing your focus from here up to the third eye, or kind of a different perspective. And so he was able to really embody that perspective in that lifetime, and then bring it here. And it changed how he played music after that, because he could put that soul into it and just take that music a little deeper. Wisdom, imagine, I know some of us are, over 50, 60, 70 years old, and we have gained some wisdom in this lifetime. So imagine all the lifetimes that you got to that mature stage where you had learned so many lessons and you had gained so much wisdom. You could access that now, even in your 20s, you could go into those lifetimes and access that wisdom that took, that was so hard earned in those other lifetimes. That's just sitting down there in the, under the surface. Accessing traumas. And this is one of the reasons why it's really important to marry the client-centered hypnotherapy techniques, the NLP, all of that body of work that I'm teaching in the training, with the past life regression. Because when we go into the other lifetimes, we can access places where or times and places where we have had traumas. And oftentimes those traumas will affect us here still, because they were not integrated in that lifetime. So maybe now they're showing up as phobias or fears or personality quirks, or any number of personality issues or character issues based on a trauma from another lifetime. And so now, with marrying the two fields together, we can go in and we do the same type of healing that we would do in this lifetime, the kind of healing work we would do for somebody regarding issues in this lifetime, we go in and we actually can do the therapy on the past life person, which I don't think anybody else is teaching, because this is something that I did about 25 years ago. I married these two together, and we have really developed how do we do that, and what does it mean? There's a lot to say about what it means. Also, in almost everybody wants to know what their purpose is, right? It brings meaning to our lives. It makes it all of this worthwhile, and it brings us our self-esteem, when we know what our purpose is and we're doing it. And the only way we can really access deeper information about our purpose is by going into the lifetime, into the past lives. So how I do that is there's a few things I do with this life, a few things like values and hypnotherapy and different things, but a lot of that work is going into specific past lives that we designate as lifetimes when you have demonstrated or expressed your past life or your purpose in life, or your soul's purpose. And then the subconscious mind takes us to those lifetimes. And I usually do at least 3 so that we can see what is the similarity here. What are we, what's, what is the thread that travels through all those lifetimes that would indicate what a purpose, what the purpose is, and how has that been expressed. So we need to go into the subconscious for that. We need to go into past lives. Character. I remember, growing up and, thinking, who am I? Who am I? And I don't know if anybody else experienced that. And when you're a teenager, it's like, who am I? Right? And you're trying to figure out who you are and what you're like. It's really hard, I think, to see it from the inside. And even as an older adult, that we have blind spots, right? We have areas of our lives. Maybe our friend will tell us and they'll go, you do this, right? Or, you've got this habit. And it's like, oh, I didn't even know I was doing that, or I didn't know that that was a part of my personality. Well, when we go into past lives, we can, it's easier because it's like looking at somebody else, right? So now we're looking at who we were. So it's really our same character, but now you're seeing them act out a different role, or, have different behaviors or in different contexts. And so we can look at that and observe, because that's part of us, even if it's like a recessive gene, right? A recessive character, maybe it's not being expressed right now, but that's something that's inside of me, for better or worse. Most of the time we play small, right? So going into past lives when we have really, fluffed our feathers and really expressed ourselves more grandly is so empowering, because we look at that and we go, wow, I'm just playing in this little box here, and I'm really not expanding my wings as strongly as I could. And then you look there and you spend a little time actually being in that lifetime and feeling what that feels like to play bigger. And so then you can bring that into this lifetime. But you can also, see your dark side. You can see things that, would be really easy not to take a look at, and you recognize those character traits. And because they're in your past lives means that they are still in you, even though you wouldn't maybe express it here in this lifetime. As an example, I did a regression with a woman. Wow, this like 1996. So it's been a few years. a long time ago, I did a regression, and this was before I even really expanded my body of work, but I knew how to do regressions. And so she was this metaphysical woman. We were living in the Midwest, the Bible Belt. And this was her first regression. So, and she was spiritually oriented, obviously, because she wanted to do a past life. And her opening scene, she's in an alley and she's walking along and she said, "Oh my God, I am a serial killer."
Wow.
Yeah. Imagine. And she said, "It's like Jack the Ripper. I'm not Jack the Ripper, but it's like that. I'm stalking women. I'm a man." She's a woman in this life. She said, "I'm a man in that lifetime. I'm stalking prostitutes and vulnerable women, and I'm killing them." And so obviously we had to do some work. I would be a lot more prepared to handle that now. I mean, I was prepared to listen and be there for her and everything, but not to the degree of healing and work that I do now and that I'll be teaching. But that would be something that no amount of meditation would have ever shown her that, we put blocks up regarding certain behaviors that we have or certain tendencies. And, we pretend that that never happened or that isn't part of us. So going into the past lives can really help us access that. And I think it's super important to access that shadow side, because what happens is it's festering under the surface somewhere. And if it doesn't express in this lifetime, it could still express in some other lifetime. We already know it has, right? It has expressed itself. So now we can use the healing techniques to help to guide that person. And in the training, I'm going to show you how we can move the karma, move the possible and the probable lifetimes over far enough so that those really terrible karma lifetimes can drop off, so those are no longer lifetimes that we would experience. If we do nothing different, we're just going to continue on the same track, and we're going to continue to have that festering, and it'll pop up in one life or another. But there are specific steps we can take that can move us in a direction where those lifetimes will no longer be probable. And then we keep moving and we keep growing and changing and solidifying our positive character. And then those eventually just no longer exist within our soul field and within our aspect field. And therefore that karma is gone. So there are real ways to eliminate karma. And it's not, waving a pendulum or wishing it away or saying enough positive affirmations. There's like real solid ways that we can do that, but it takes work. But we can get rid of that kind of karma. Okay, so root causes to diseases, to phobias, fears, things that are coming up that we don't know where that's coming from. I'll give a short example. I don't even know how we're doing on time. This is a topic that I love so much I could just talk forever. But just as an example of a root cause, I worked with a young lady who was an alcoholic, again, back in 1990, it was probably 96, not even 97, so probably 95, 96. And she was a young woman, and she was in a halfway house. She'd been an alcoholic since she was 13. And so now she was recovering, and she was in a home with other recovering alcoholics. And her mother contacted me and said, could you do a regression with her and, see if you can help her just make this path smoother. And it was interesting. She was a great subject. And we went into about 3 different lifetimes. Each one of them, she had turned to alcohol. But the core past life, the one that seemed to be the most important, was when she was a man and she was married, and she was married. He was married to this woman for many years, and at some point she died. And he became so distraught and just didn't know what to do with himself, and turned to alcohol. So he became an alcoholic in that lifetime and died an alcoholic. And so it was a similar story in the other lifetimes too. So her lesson in that was, and in this lifetime, I think her parents had divorced right around the time she was 13. And so stress came up and she turned to alcohol. So the pattern was, when things get too stressful, you drink, right? And so by looking at those other lifetimes, and again, I did not have the skills and talent that I have now in addressing and really doing that deeper healing, but by looking at those lifetimes, and then we discussed it, and she said, oh, I see the thread of similarity. When I get stressed, I turn to alcohol. And so we talked about ways of not turning to alcohol, of finding a different way. And that was that. I had one session with her. It was 1 or 2 hours, I don't know. And about a year or 2 later, I was at a big metaphysical event in Ohio. That was in Ohio as well. And in Columbus, it was a whole convention center of metaphysics. And I was a speaker and, all of this. Well, anyway, I was standing in the lobby talking to a friend who was a musician. He was playing music in the lobby for people. And so he and I were talking, and she comes running up. She's about 7 months pregnant. And she just gives me a big hug. And she goes, Mary Lee, that session was the turning point. You saved my life. And she said, I've never even wanted a drink ever since then. I've found, the love of my life. We got married. We're going to have a baby. I'm so thrilled, these are the moments that really move us in doing this work, is, when you get that feedback and you see even years later, people are thriving and are so happy, and recognize that it was what you did that really, just turned the key on that. Obviously, she did the work too, right? But maybe I just handed her the tools that allowed her to become a healthy person. Okay, so relationships. We go into past lives and we can find out why we're with the people we're with, why we like certain people, why we are turned off by certain people. And it's always fascinating to figure out who, lifetimes when we were together with our children, with our lovers, our partners, our business partners or bosses or employees, really anyone. It really changes the perspective on those people, because some people you just can't get along with, but then you look in other lifetimes and you see why, you see that, we were, enemies on the battlefield, but then there were other lifetimes when that was my father, or that was my best friend. It just happened that we were on opposite sides at one point, and, or whatever. And you find this deeper core and this deeper connection with the people around you. The other thing that's really important is guiding people into past lives before they get involved in a romantic relationship with someone. You know, I mean, how many times have we made a mistake and we think, oh my God, I feel all this energy. It must be my soulmate, right? And then you jump in and there you are. And you're like, oh my God, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And where did all this come from? And then you do the regressions and you find out where all this strife and struggle and, oh, maybe you weren't supposed to be together. You know, it just felt like you were, I don't know. Anyway, so I always tell people, you know, like single people, if you're dating, if you think you're going to get serious, we have to do some past lives with you and that person, because anybody you would get serious with that you really feel that strong connection, there has to be past lives. There just would be. And so you need to find out. You'll just in the same way that you learn all about your own character, you also learn about their character. So, you know, so you can go in their past lives and you can see what they're like, and, you know, before you jump too far in. And achievements, you know, especially when people are struggling with self-esteem, or, you know, I don't know, maybe you know, I don't matter or whatever, you know, they just don't feel like, you know, oh, I've never had a win, you know, that sort of thing. And you go into another lifetime and you see that you have, you know, maybe this lifetime, it's just been a separate set of circumstances. And so we go into lifetimes when that was different, when you did achieve things, when you were making things happen. Or in the same way, I took a man who had been adopted. He was never in a loving family. He was adopted by a very cold family. And he said, I've never known love. I've never known a warm family. And I just, you know, I don't have that in my conscious awareness. And we went into a lifetime where he was born into this loving, unbelievably wonderful, cozy, warm family. And then he grew up and he married and he created another cozy, warm family. And so he integrated all of that energy into him, because that is him. There's no difference between him and that other person. And now he has that total experience in his conscious awareness. Now he knows what that feels like. So things like that can be extremely valuable. And this is why he knows, whoops, stay there. The reason he knows that is because it is one life. So we go out, we're dead, and we come in, we're in the physical, we're out in the astral, we're in the physical, out, you know, maybe almost, you know, maybe here you get aborted, you know, you almost made it and then you didn't, and then you come out and then, you know, so you'll notice that some lifetimes, you know, just like we have long lives and short lives, we'll have long time and short time in the astral between lives. There's no set pattern. I've heard people teach things like, you will not incarnate within 100 years. It's like, where did you make that one up? You know, you can incarnate right away. Nothing stops you. And you can stay out there for a really long time too. Nothing makes you come back. So it's just choices you make. Okay. Oh, we did that one. Okay. All right. What I want to do before we go there, I want to put you into a past life. I've talked enough. I'm talked out. So this is the experience you've been waiting for. So get comfortable, put your pens and papers down. Just get in a nice place to relax. Oh, we have all these wonderful people here. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put you into what I call the hypnotic envelope. And by that, I mean, we go into a trance and we're going to, explore a little bit so you get nice and deep into the trance. Then in the middle of the envelope is the past life regression. And then on the other side of the envelope is coming out. So you go in and out, that's the envelope. And then the inside is where we do the work. And so today the work is experiencing a past life. So assuming everybody is comfortable, and getting relaxed. So when you're ready, go ahead and close your eyes and take in a nice deep breath. And then take in another breath. And this time, as you exhale, just letting go of any tension and stress, letting go of our talk today. Just relaxing, allowing your mind to be like a clear blue sky. And just imagine a ball of light at your feet, glistening and shining and radiating. And as that ball of light begins to move up along your body, it gathers up the perceptions and the sensations, leaving behind a completely relaxed body as it moves up across your legs and your lap, up across your torso, balancing your energy and opening your chakras. That ball of light moving up across your throat, clearing communications, and right on up into the third eye in the center of your forehead. And the ball of light energizes your third eye, and it begins to expand. Feeling the third eye opening and the energy flowing through, connecting your conscious mind to your subconscious, where all your past lives, memories, experiences are housed. And as that energy continues to expand that channel, and you continue to relax deeper and deeper throughout this session, I invite you to imagine being in your favorite safe space, a place of relaxation, protection, and connection. And as you find yourself in your safe space today, it could be a place that you've been to in this lifetime or a place that you go to in your imagination that allows you to feel free to be yourself. So as you find yourself in that safe space now, exploring with the curiosity of a child, just noticing what is there, what it feels like to be there. And notice if anything is unusual. Maybe the smells, the sights, the sounds, the energy. And as you explore your safe space with the curiosity of a child, you discover that there is a gift that has been left there for you, a gift that will bring you empowerment and energy that will be so valuable for you at this time in your life. And for you as you move forward in life. And as you discover this object, this gift, notice what it is. And take it in your hands. And notice the texture and the size, the weight of it, and the shape. The texture, the color. And as you hold this object, notice how it affects you. What energy does it bring to you? And in what way does it empower you? And if this gift, this object, were like a Harry Potter magical tool, when might you use this in your life? When would it be handy to bring this out and use it? And so holding on to it now and finding a place to be seated. And as you settle into an even deeper meditation, you begin to imagine a hallway stretching out in front of you. And that hallway can look like anything you choose. And as you begin to move down along that hall, you notice that there are doorways, each one leading to a past life, memories, experiences that will be so valuable for you at this time in your life. And as I count from 3 to 1, finding yourself in front of one of those doors, 3, 2, 1. And just noticing what this door looks like. And how you feel standing in front of it. And the door opens and you step through. And do you go indoors or outdoors? And begin to explore your environment with the curiosity of a child. Noticing what is there. And if you're not really sure, just make it up. You can start anywhere and it will develop into past life memories. And so as you explore, what is it that you're doing there? Why are you in this location in that lifetime? And are you there alone or with others? And a little time passes, maybe an hour or so. And what has been happening there? And when it's time to go to bed that night, where do you sleep? Not necessarily bed. When it's time to go to sleep that night, where do you sleep? And when you get up the next morning, what is it that you set out to do? What's on your agenda in this morning? And moving ahead into the next notable experience, what happens next in that lifetime? And do you feel like you're a male or a female? And moving ahead to the next notable experience, what happens next? And what is it that you do in that lifetime? What is your occupation? And how do you feel about your occupation or your job, your employment or non-employment situation? What is that like? And moving ahead in time a little ways, what happens next there? And in that lifetime, do you marry or have a significant relationship? And if so, what do you know about that other person? And do you have children in that lifetime? And if so, how many? And what do you know about the people around you, whether it's a spouse, a partner, a lover, children, family, friends? What do you know about them? And do you recognize any of them as people you know in this lifetime? And moving ahead in time to the next notable experience, what happens next? And as I count from 3 to 1, you'll know where in the world you are. 3, 2, 1. Where are you? And as I count from 3 to 1, you'll know the approximate year in that lifetime. 3, 2, 1. And what role do you play in the community? What is your role, your purpose, the way you function? And not necessarily your job, but maybe you bring people together, maybe you lead, or you're a rebel, a picketer, whatever. What is your role? And moving up to the end of that lifetime, how old do you live to be? And what is the cause of your departure from that lifetime? And looking back over that life, what have you learned that will be valuable for you in this lifetime? And what have you learned about yourself? And how will you integrate that into who you are now? How will it affect you and change you in some way as you move forward in this lifetime? So remembering all that you've experienced in this session and allowing the subconscious mind to continue to bring you insight, wisdom, and understanding in the days and weeks to come. As I count from 1 to 5, returning here to the present moment, refreshed, alert, and aware. 1, 2, 3, coming up. 4, aware of this time and space. And 5, fully alert and aware and returned here to the present moment. So I'm going to stop sharing because I want to be able to see more of you, even though all your screens are off. Come back, come back. Okay, so we can unmute if you'd like. And how was that for you? Would like to share a little something. Like, did anybody get an empowerment symbol? The gift in the beginning? Did you all get a gift? Okay, I need to, you got to engage. Kathy, tell me.
I was just now thinking, I don't know how many of these I've done with you, but
Oh,
every single time something significant happens. And my gift was, it was like a gold locket, but when I opened it, it was like, at first I saw like my gram and my mom and like the people that, I knew, the women that were really close to me, but then it went like, I kept on seeing more and more. It was like my female ancestors. And it was very powerful. And I just felt like they gave me strength and love. And it was really beautiful.
nice, beautiful. Anybody else want to share their empowerment symbol?
Well, mine was weird.
Okay.
And I'm in a lighthouse, but for some reason it's coming across dark on my camera. So I don't know.
I know
But-
it's very eerie. It's like,
Yeah, it's weird. I
yeah.
don't know. So I turned my flashlight on so you could see my face.
Okay.
Anyway, I found a tiny pink furry rocking horse, which was so bizarre. I was like, I have no idea what it meant.
And how did it affect you? Like, what did you feel from it?
I felt like someone really loved me.
Okay.
Very interesting though.
Would it have shown up in your past life?
It did not show up in the past life that I experienced.
That you know of. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, not in this one that I experience now, but it could have in another past life.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting. You have to journal that and,
Yes.
keep looking because you may run across the lifetime or the situation or something, because that is really specific and different.
Very specific. Yeah, I was like, what? And it was as soon as I was in the room, like there's 2 places I usually go for my safe space or my meditation space. And as soon as I was in there, I saw it. And I was like, okay, this is weird. And then when you said to pick it up is when I picked it up, and it was small. It wasn't very big. So it
Uh-huh.
was like a rocking horse that you would sit on. So yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
cute. Very interesting. Okay, so how many people were women in their other lifetime? I can't see everybody's hands, but so, and how many people were men in their other lifetimes? Since we're all women here, so some people were men in their other lifetimes that they remember. Who was neither man or woman?
Well, I couldn't tell,
Oh, you couldn't tell. Okay.
but I think I was a woman. I'm not positive because of the way it went, but I think I was the woman.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you elaborate on that? Like why, like the way
Yeah.
that it went?
So when I went through the door, I was in a room that had a big wooden table in it. And I automatically thought that I was like a fisherman. But then as I went out of this room, it was actually like a house. The ocean was there. And then I saw a man and a young woman, and he just kept twirling the young woman around and around and around, almost like he was controlling her.
Huh.
And then it ended up where the man, and I usually know like which one I am, but I was having difficulty figuring it out. And then toward the end, I started to think that I was the woman, but it was a weird one because it was not pleasant at all.
Hmm.
And it felt like he was possibly had either stolen me if I was the woman, and was very controlling of her, had taken her as possibly an unwilling bride. Yeah, it was a powerful one, but it was very different. And
Wow.
yeah, and he was very abusive and controlling, and yeah.
Wow.
And then as it moved forward, I saw myself, because I am thinking I was the woman, aging.
Okay.
And then by middle age, then there was another man who was coming like to save her.
Oh, okay.
And the other man had disappeared. So I don't know if he had died and she was older, and then this other man came, and he was like the light.
Wow.
Yeah. The
Wow.
sun. And I remember thinking in my mind, the sunlight man.
Huh.
Yeah. Which was
Wow.
yeah.
It was a lot to unpack in that.
process. Yes. A lot.
Yeah. So doing journaling, I mean, obviously doing some more regressions to that lifetime and really getting some clarity and, you know, not letting it all fester as a subconscious thing, but, you know, to bring it out and to integrate it and heal anything that needs to be healed around it would help, you know, to create a whole person, you know, create a holistic healing.
Yes.
But you could also do it if you're not going to be doing it like regressions with other people, then you could either listen to the audios or just journal a lot about it
Right.
and go into that meditative state so that you can keep getting more and more information.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's
And
sounds worth.
I got a date. The date was 1851.
Okay, cool.
And it felt like it was the Bahamas or the East Indies. I'm not sure. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Yeah. Did anybody else get dates?
I got 1700s. I'm just finishing up with COVID, so I'm really fatigued. So it's hard for me to stay focused, you know.
Yeah.
But the little bit that I got out of it was I was a man, and maybe in my 30s or 40s. Somehow out in a very beautiful, grassy, breezy area. not really sure exactly where I was, but not alarmed or upset about it, just trying to kind of find, you know, where I was at, find my way and so forth. But I was having trouble staying awake.
Oh, I know that happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're really good at doing this as well.
Well, it's been a while.
It's been a while. You got to exercise that muscle again,
Right,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And Candace, what about you? Did you have a good experience or any experience?
Unfortunately, the last thing I remembered was being in my safe space. For some reason, I was a little girl in my safe space,
Oh,
like in a magic garden.
nice.
My empowerment symbol was a jump rope.
Huh.
And
What did it do
um,
for you?
um, I don't really know. I don't think I made it that far to even know. I guess I fell asleep. I did not. I have a 3-year-old and I did not sleep last night.
Oh, well,
One of
you're,
the worst nights. And so I was just dreading that I would fall asleep, and I did.
yeah, it was prophetic. Well,
Disappointed.
you're welcome for a nice little nap then. Yeah. So, you know, sometimes that's more important. And if you think about it, it's possible that even though you were asleep, that you were still following along because you did come out when I asked you to come out. So
There was
your
a few
dream,
times where I kind of came close, like resurfaced again, and
yeah,
but I don't have any memory really of what was going on. I remember coming back here and there though.
but not remembering that the dream was a past life or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Who else? Michelle, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Did you have any experience or any questions? We could move to questions too. What did,
Actually, no questions. I also feel like I fell asleep, dude. I just had surgery, so I'm kind of on pain pills still. So every
okay,
time I felt like I was going there, I think I kind of faded out.
right. Boy, I know what you mean. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Does anybody have questions about past lives? Past lives, regression, the experience, the process? I think all of you are pretty well experienced, but I'm here to answer any questions if you have them.
Were you going to go more into detail about doing therapy in a past life? Or
Yes, not here, but you know, just to mention, like we did earlier, that is possible. But that's part of the whole training that you're in right now, is, you know, learning all of those techniques. So I can tell you about it. I can't tell you all of it because it would take weeks to do that. But one of the things that happened, you know, like I said, I started out doing past life regression, and it was sightseeing, and that was what we did. And then when I learned the hypnotherapy, then I started, you know, I was doing past lives, but I thought, wow, I have all these healing techniques that I know now. And why am I just watching somebody go through a past life that's has a trauma or an injury or, you know, a bad ending of some sort? And why not smooth that over or, you know, heal the trauma? Because when we heal it in those other lifetimes, it will actually affect this lifetime. So I did have let me see if I can, if this is interesting for you, I'll share one more time, I think. Let me see. And I have a slide here. So everything, if you think about it, if you look at all of these squares as a different lifetime or moments in a life. So like one line like this, one film strip would be like one lifetime, and then, you know, another lifetime. But you could look at these all as different lifetimes. So what you do here in this lifetime is going to affect what's happening out here in other lifetimes. Maybe not all of them, but the ones that are closely connected. So, you know, it's really helpful to know that, because when you think about, you know, maybe you want to do something that you'll get away with, right? Nobody's watching. I'll just, you know, I can get away with this. Well, you can't, because what's really important is that that's becoming a part of your character, especially if it's something that you repeatedly do. And so that becomes a part of your character. And so that starts spreading out and becoming the character in all these other lifetimes. And in the same way, more like what we've been talking about, all these other lifetimes have ups and downs and rocky roads and traumas and stuff. And those are coming in and playing on us, because we, in this body, in this moment in time and space, we are the focus of our entire soul. So all these other moments, all these other lifetimes are all there, but because we are consciously here, we are the focus. So we are the only ones in all of that that can do the healing on ourselves, can have the growth, can, you know, make the changes, the transformations. We're the only ones. But because you're here, let's say this is you and you're here, and you go to say this past life where there was trauma that's affecting you here, but because it's your conscious awareness that goes and accesses that past life, and then we do the healing with the person in that past life, now instead of it being a really rocky, negative, out of control lifetime, that smooths out, and now it's not negatively affecting you here. Is that making sense?
Yes, it's very interesting.
It is very interesting.
That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
There's so many interesting things about this topic that, yeah, we're going to get in deeper and deeper in the training. Yeah, so, you know, just for people who don't know, well, first of all, here's my new book, which until the end of the month, when you're registering for the course, you'll get a copy of my book, and it's awesome. Candace, you probably have it now, don't you?
Yes, I love it. I have 3 of your books and 4 of your books.
Wow. Cool.
I have not gotten to read through this one completely yet, but I'm reading it along with the course, and I'm enjoying it so much.
Oh, thank you.
It's
Thank you.
awesome. And what I like about it is that it seems like there's maybe a little bit more discussion or more detail on technique, more so than the client-centered approach, which is also a very awesome book.
My other book. Yeah. Yeah, because this one, I used the client-centered approach as the base, and then I just expanded it and wrote more and put it in this book. So yeah, and I love the feel of the cover. I can just pet it.
Yeah.
It's like velvet. Yeah, it's really nice. So if anybody's interested in the course right now, till the end of the month, August 31st, it's 10% off, and you get a copy of my book. So, you know, if you're interested, you can call me, text me, we'll set up a call and I can walk you through that. So I think that was my last slide, I guess. Yeah, none of these, I wasn't going to do any of those. So yeah. Questions and answers. Does anybody else have any questions? I'll just get out of the share screen thing. Anybody else have questions about anything? I'm here. Yes, Candace, you again.
Life between lives therapy. Do you do any of that or teach any of that?
You'll get it in the course.
Okay.
Absolutely. You know, I guess I don't really advertise that well enough because a lot of people say, are we going to talk about past life between lives? And yes, you're going to get, you know, that'll be part of the education as well. So, oh, Kathy had to go because she's 3 hours later over there. So, okay, so yes, you will get that education as well, and we'll be practicing that in class as well.
Good.
Okay, anything else?
Good to see you.
Good to see you, exactly. And so I just want to say thank you to everybody who showed up today. It's been very, very fun. I'm glad we could share this time together. And I'm here. If you have any questions, you can always ask later, email or text or whatever. And otherwise, enjoy the rest of your summer. And Candace, for the people who are in the class Thursday night, we have a call that's just for the graduates and students, just a Q&A to answer some of your questions. So
Yes. I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, I'll see you Thursday.
Thank
All
you.
right. So thank you, everybody, and have a great August and stay
Thank you.
cool.
Yes.
you.
Thank you. We
Bye,
appreciate it.
everyone.
Bye, bye.
Everyone have a nice night.
Thank you.